Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight we'll be hosting the Garena Premier League. I'm Fish, and Chris will be joining me today on the shoutcasting desk. And tonight's match will be between Saigon Jokers going up against the Azubu Taipei Assassins.
That's right, and for tonight's matchup, it's going to be the first semi-final matchup for the winter season. And not only that, subsequently on Friday, we are going to have the other two teams fight it out. That will be the Taipei Snipers going up against AHQ Esports Club. And for this time around, what they are fighting for is a prize pool of over $200,000. And not only that, the grand champion for today's tournament is going to bring home $80,000 in cash prize. And not only that, they are going to earn themselves 400 circuit points in the new system that Garena Premier League has put in place.
Yes, and tonight will be a best of 5 in the first semi-final match of this week. The second semi-final match will take place on Friday, and that will be between AHQ Esports Club going up against the Azubu Taipei Snipers. So whoever wins tonight will be going into the grand finals. The loser, unfortunately, will be going into third and fourth placing, as well as Friday's match, whereby the winner will be going into the grand finals, facing against the winner of today's game, and the loser will also be going to third and fourth placing, playing the loser of this game. So if you want to check out any stats about the Garena Premier League, anything about the players, the teams, the format of the tournament, or even the brackets, which will be all up on gpl.garena.com, and it's a really useful site if you want to go and check out any information about the Garena Premier League. And we should be going into Champions League very shortly, just waiting for all the players to touch up and get ready, and once they give their go, we'll be going to Champions Select.
Right, so let's talk a little bit about both teams and just a little bit about the history between them, because for both Saigon Jokers as well as the Taipei Assassins, they're kind of like the pioneers in the Garena Premier League. They have been around for the longest time already. They have taken part in most of the seasons in the GPL matchup, and I think because of that, they have a lot of history with each other, but in between those times, they do have quite a lot of roster changes, like the inclusion of these new members in the Taipei Assassins, and then for SAJ as well, introducing new players like Safety, Optimus, as well as QTV. And I think, we can look at them in their recent performance, especially for Saigon Jokers, because they have really stepped up their gameplay, especially in the group stages where they actually, defeated hot favorites AHQ Esports Club. So even though they did not do very well against Taipei Assassins in the GPL group stages, I would say they have a lot coming into today's matchup.
You could say Saigon Joker's performance against the Azubu Taipei Assassins has been fluctuating quite a bit recently. I mean, their first game against them in the Garena Premier League, they lost, and right after that, they went into IEM Singapore, whereby they took 2 games off Azubu Taipei Assassins back-to-back. And right after that, actually on the same day itself, they played another game in the Garena Premier League where they lost once again to the Azubu Taipei Assassins. So in total, it's even between the two teams. They both won 2 games apiece. So it's going to be very interesting tonight's match. And although Azubu Taipei Assassins have improved a lot since the huge roster changes after they became champions in Season 2, Saigon Jokers have consistently been slowly improving with every single game they've played in the Garena Premier League so far. And they've done a few roster changes here and there, but the core components of their team are still there, and they're a very, very well-bonded team. They're all good friends with one another, and they play very well as a team as well. When you give a team these small improvements and give them the chance to play more and more games, they will slowly just keep getting better and better. And it shows that the fact that they're even with the Azubu Taipei Assassins, who were kind of favorites in this tournament as well, shows a lot, and shows a lot about how the Saigon Jokers are doing in the Garena Premier League.
That's right. I mean, in the tiebreaker stages, they definitely had a very impressive victory over Mineski, and subsequently after that, in the quarterfinal stages where they beat out Hong Kong Attitude, which was back then kind of the favored team to win as well. They beat them out in a 3-1 matchup. And not only that, like you mentioned, in the Inter-Extreme Masters Singapore, where they beat out Taipei Assassin in a 2-0. So in a sense, they kind of have this momentum streak going. And I think because of that, they would want to bring that momentum and all this energy, channel that into today's matchup. And then hopefully they can beat out TPA to earn that spot in the grand finals.
So as you said, the Saigon Jokers did go up against UCAN HKA, and they did win 3-1 in the quarterfinal matches, and that is what allowed them to be playing here today against the Azubu Taipei Assassins. The Azubu Taipei Assassins, on the other hand, had a really impressive victory against Neo Evolution Esports Full Lewis. They won it in a 3-0, a sweep style coming in from the Azubu Taipei Assassins.
Sweep style.
It was a really impressive victory for them. So both these teams are riding off heavily impressive victories over the two other teams from the quarterfinals. So it's going to be interesting to see which team allows that momentum to snowball into the semifinal match.
Right, and I would say for Taipei Assassins, just to add on a little bit to what you were saying, is that they do have some additional practice coming in the LNL in Taiwan as well, where they have been consistently fighting against some of the other top Taiwanese teams, like, for example, their sister team, Taipei Snipers, AHQ Esports Club as well, and some of the other top teams over there. And because of that, I would say they have much more substantial practice when it comes to tonight's matchup. And hopefully they will be able to bring that experience in to today. And here we go into Champion Select, and it will be Taipei Assassins on the blue team and Saigon Jokers on the purple side.
So if you want to check out any stats or anything that we just mentioned early on, we said this before, but do head over to gpl.garena.com where you can find out anything you need to know about the teams, the players, and the tournament itself. So as you said, we'll be going into Champion Select, and right off the bat, we see Kale and Renekton being banned out. Azubu Taipei Assassins going for that Kale ban, most likely targeted at Optimus, one of the newer members of the Saigon Jokers team. Renekton being banned out by the Saigon Jokers here, probably aimed at Archie, who's been doing very, very good on the flavor of the month top laners. It wouldn't be surprising to see if SAJ go for a Shyvana ban as well, especially because the Taiwanese teams were the first few teams to start using Shyvana efficiently in the top lane.
Right, not only that, and a gentle reminder to the viewers out there, Rengar is now globally banned because of some discovered bugs on his end, so we will not see any Rengar action here tonight. And looking over at some of the other bans coming in, we have the Jinx being banned out on the side of Taipei Assassins, very targeted at Archie over there. We have seen him on Jinx, and it kind of just suits his playstyle so well. He is the kind that likes to just sit in the back line and then come in and clean up after that. And in Jinx, you have the kit to do so. And looking over at some of the remaining bans, Nidalee being banned out, a very strong pick, like you mentioned, in the mid lane. And Dr. Mundo as well, one of the emerging picks in the 3.14 patch. And Evelyn as well, because given the fact to the vision changes coming in this current patch, it's somewhat more difficult to deal with the jungle Evelyn ganks, and because of that, it seems like Saigon Jokers would not want to deal with that.
I don't like the picks that Saigon Jokers have given away here. The Jax pick coming in from Azubu Taipei Assassin surprised me a little bit, but the fact that they've let both Olaf and Sivir go to the Azubu Taipei Assassins is really surprising. Both of these champions are incredibly strong on this 3.14 patch. Sivir is an absolute mean bot lane AD carry. I mean, Saigon Jokers do have the chance to pick up Lucian here, as Jinx is banned. These three would be the top 3 AD carries in 3.14 right now, and they were able to pick up Annie, but Sivir just combos so well with both Olaf and Jax, two champions that really enjoy having that huge burst of movement speed to dish out the tons of sustained damage that they can provide to the team. And Dr. Mundo being banned out by Azubu Taipei Assassins means that SAJ really have to go for a different top lane pick. They most likely will go for the Shyvana pickup to go against the Jax, which they do go for. And
you didn't call it? You did call it?
Evelyn being banned out means that they have to go for a different jungler as well. Dr. Mundo being banned out by Azubu Taipei Assassins was really smart because his regeneration in 3.14 is insane. He does almost double what a Rengar can do up in the top lane in terms of just sustaining and staying in the lane. And they do go for the Karma and Gragas pickup as their last two picks.
Right, the Dr. Mundo pick in 3.14 patch is definitely quite disgusting, as you mentioned. And for Karma pickup, we have seen Karma resurging in the various other scenes as well, especially in OGN and in the recent Battle of the Atlantic. We do see a lot of Karma pickups as well. And looks like we are going to have the monkey in the jungle. It does seem like it's going to be safety playing that Wukong. I've not seen Wukong in the longest of times already, and I'm very interested to see what Saigon Jokers have to bring to the table.
I like this Wukong pickup. I mean, St. Vicious, who used to jungle for Team Curse, he said that Wukong is one of the strongest junglers in the game right now. And I have to agree with him. His ganks being able to go invisible, although he does not provide CC, he does have a nice gap closer, he does have armor penetration, and when he hits level 6, he is a mean team fighting beast. And he synergizes very well with Shyvana up in the front line as well. He even synergizes with Orianna. Orianna can put the ball onto Wukong, he can go invisible and then jump onto the opposition team. It's kind of a surprise Orianna shockwave combo coming in with that Wukong. And his passive gives him a ton of additional stats, giving him extra armor and magic resistance based on how many champions are nearby. Surprisingly, although I thought that Saigon Jokers were going to give away a lot of contested picks, their team composition looks really, really good going into this game against the Azubu Taipei Assassins. Azubu Taipei Assassins have a lot of flavor of the month picks, which do synergize quite well with one another. I mean, Karma does very well with Sivir. They have 3 champions that just run like absolute beasts. Olaf, Sivir, and Karma. And Karma can help speed up the rest of the team, so can Sivir. Gragas and Jax are also very mobile, but the Saigon Jokers, their team comp is really mobile and also has so much lockdown potential, which Azubu Taipei Assassins team comp does not have.
Right, but it does look like at this point of time, Taipei Assassins, they want to go for the early setups for their team composition because like you mentioned, it's quite difficult for them to go up against the Saigon Jokers head-on in a 5v5 engage. Just with the AoE threat coming in, with the Cyclone Strike coming in from safety, as well as the Command Shockwave, and not only that, the Dragon's Descent coming in from QTV and the Tibbers from Junie as well. It's all very dangerous elements that they have to take into consideration, but for Taipei Assassins, I would say the good thing about them is that they do still have that Gragas down in the mid lane. So if they are able to kind of use the explosive cast smartly and use that to the fullest potential, they can kind of blow away the engage that Saigon Jokers want to bring into them, and then subsequently follow that up, maybe probably with the J Karma Shield or even with BB with On the Hunt as well. So even though, like you mentioned, Saigon Jokers, they have a lot of pick-off potential, I feel like if Taipei Assassins could make full use of that mobility factor that they do have on their arsenal, they should be able to do just fine in the early game stages.
Both teams mirroring one another in terms of their item starts. It does look like Annie has gone for a little bit more additional gold when she starts the game compared to Karma, who was not able to pick up a sight ward for herself. Other than that, everybody's starting with the same items, except for Olaf, who's gone for the Sweeping Lens Trinket instead of the free ward. So we're going to see Azubu Taipei Assassins camp down in this bottom lane brush while the rest of the Saigon Jokers are actually completely spread out to cover every single entrance into their jungle. So no matter what the Azubu Taipei Assassins do here, SAJ will be able to spot them out.
Right, and we might see Taipei Assassins go for a delayed invade here. It's not uncommon, especially for the Azubu franchise, and we do have a slight pause over here.
So we should be starting very shortly. Once the pause is over, we'll be going in and minions will be spawning very soon. Still will the level 1 buffs. And now, we used to see in the 2013 season that junglers could finish their blue buff and then head straight to the red buff and hit level 3. Now it's almost impossible unless you take an experienced Quinn and have Zillion as your support or mid laner. So we see a lot of junglers taking their time to clear out camps and hit that level 3 instead of just going for the buffs early on. But with the changes to Smite, they can smite both buff camps from the start of the game to when they get their second buff as well. Now they're going to go for the late invade and walk over this Trinket ward.
Right, they have spotted out the ward earlier as well with the ping landing down. So it does look like they are not too concerned about what Saigon Jokers might do to them, but instead they will just go for this aggressive start. But because of that, Safety will be able to kind of pick up his own red buff in exchange, and not too sure whether they would go for the buffs exchange like we have always seen for most of the time, but we will have to just see how it lands. But in the meantime, for both teams, they have opted to go for the standard matchup, so no lane swaps coming in for both teams. And I think given the matchup, I would say in the top lane especially, Archie should have a slight advantage once it hits past level 6.
So we're actually going to see Olaf head over to the blue buff, not even going to go try and take his own red. Wukong might be caught with his pants down here if he doesn't play this one out smart. Denzel's going to show himself, throw some axes at the monkey. He's going to get some help from Orianna as well, who's running up, but other than that, it looks like Safety has lost the buff. He might try and stick around and contest this. Instead, it looks like he's going to the top lane as we see Jay get stunned up by June. He takes some free damage from this Lucian combo, but BB on Sivir just does so much damage early on.
Right, so we do see Archie and Safety up in the top lane. So Taipei Assassins responding to this, and Linton now taking out the white camp for themselves. So what do you think of the matchup of the Karma support and the Annie support matchup? I think has been a lot of debate about it, and personally I think that Karma still has the strongest poking potential, but for Junie, once he hits level 6, that will be the big power spike that they will need to kind of pull off the hard engage onto Taipei Assassins.
I do like the Karma support in the 3.14 patch. I mean, it gives you so much poke, so much utility as well, which I think a support should be able to provide during a laning phase and team fights. But the Annie Lucian lane, I have a feeling, will not do as well as this Sivir and Karma lane. You can already see that Sivir and Karma are heavily pushing the minions into the tower here. And Lucian and Annie really have to rely on a good a good Wukong gank coming out from safety and good lockdown coming in from Junie as well to kind of even out this lane towards the mid phase of the game, you could say.
Yeah. And not only that, we can start to see the effects coming in for Taipei Assassins having this Karma as well as the Silver pickup. They are just looking to slowly wear down both Junie and Archie as well before they start going in. And with the mobility coming in from them, with the Mantra Shield coming and the On the Hunt at level 6, I would say that they will definitely have the kit to go in and disengage should they feel that it's not the right time for them to do so.
It's up in the top lane, you see QTB done a good job of keeping Archie fairly low. Should be able to win the matchup quite easily just because he is Shyvana going up against a Jax, which is kind of a superior matchup and has been for some time.
Right, so both teams, they are rather, farm-centric. They don't want to go for a risk for any early game matchups here. They don't want to just go in with the fight, but it does look like it might be the time for both junglers to show their appearance and assist either of the top lane, because we see now Archie has been brought down to about a third of his HP, if not apply some pressure down in this bottom lane, because for the side of Saigon, because they are just heavily sieged in by both BB and Safety, and it doesn't look like Safety has to be the one to equalize it, like you mentioned earlier.
Here's that Wukong. He might go invisible in a second to try and catch up. The Azubu Taipei Assassins. Junie does have the stun available, but is not level 6, so will not have Tibbers to lock him down. We already see Safety. Decides not a good idea to go for that gank down in the bottom lane. Instead goes for that wipe cam. You see Dinter is waiting patiently to try and get a gank off onto QTV, but the minion wave is slowly pushing back towards QTV's tower.
That's right, and he used the sweeping lens to kind of sweep out everything as well, but this one is a pretty dangerous decision as well, considering the fact that Archie still has about half of it. And actually, Dinter now jumping into the fray, and with the stun lockdown to him, will we see QTV go down in the process? Does look like Archie is taking a whole lot of damage as well. He has to flash out of the way, and Dinter will go with the chase here. Does look like he will go down the exchange, and that is the first blood with the Thundering Strike onto him. And that is a very clean gank coming in from Dinter on that one, even though it was a little bit extended.
So QTV not too sure about his decision to try and juke it out through the brush there. With trinkets being introduced to League of Legends, almost everyone has that ward available to face check the brush if they choose to do so. We saw that it was a great gank coming out from Dinter. QZB was almost able to turn it around though, put some great damage down onto Archie up in the top lane.
Right, and there we go now. Jay being locked down by Junie as well. As we do see Safety jumping into the frame with the invisibility, Jay might just go down in the process, and that is going to be picked up by Junie there. So not the ideal kill that Saigon Jokers wanted, but nevertheless the answer to what happened up in the top lane.
So that's exactly what we need to see Saigon Jokers do in this bottom lane. Use the heavy aggressiveness of Annie support comboed in with the surprise invisibility ganks that Wukong can provide to lock down a member of this bottom lane and pick up a kill for one of the bottom lanes. Unfortunately, as you said, it did go to Junie, who is playing support Annie, but still a kill is a kill.
That's right, and now there we go now with the explosive cast onto Morning that Optimus has to use the command shockwave to try to disengage out of that one, and Morning will give chase with the flash and body slam, and that's going to be one more kill being secured on Taipei Assassins. And meanwhile, up in the top lane, Archie will now fight it out with QTV, having that Bilgewater Cutlass being completed on his end already. He will be the stronger brawler, and eventually we do see QTV now taken down to about half HP in that one exchange.
The fact that QTV went behind early on, thanks to that great Olaf gank coming in from Dinter, has allowed Archie to pick up this Bilgewater Cutlass, and he just does so much damage to QTV and is able to sustain himself so well with this lifesteal that a superior matchup for QTV has turned sour.
That's right, and even though QTV has that Giant's Belt being completed, and like you mentioned with the Bilgewater Cutlass, it will be a much more efficient trade for Archie to go in with this one, because he is just able to sustain himself back up, and we might see QTV in a lot of trouble now. You look at the CS discrepancy over here. It's 66 to 39 over here, and now Dinter jumping into the fray as well. Dragon's Descent being popped by QTV over here, and with the Ragnarok being popped on Dinter, it does look like QTV will not be able to slow him down in this one. And there we go, with the counter strike, Archie will pick up the kill with ease.
Dinter is having a fabulous game so far. We saw his early level 1 delayed invade was able to set back Safety very far behind, especially because he made the right decision to run over straight to his blue buff. And Juni might actually go for a gank here. Wukong is going to come in very shortly.
And the Tibbers will burst Jay down to less than 1/4 of his HP. The cowling comes down from Archie, but that's not going to be enough damage on their end yet. And Safety was just looking right around the corner a little bit late to the party. And because of that, he was not able to lay down the Cyclone Strike to lock both BB and Jay down. And that is the mobility that we're talking about shared between both BB and Jay that was able to kind of get them out of trouble.
So I was saying just then that Dinter's having a really good game. The delayed invade worked out really well for Azubu Taipei Assassin. They were able to deny blue buff, force Safety to try and go for the blue buff on Azubu Taipei Assassin's side and was not able to get it for himself. At the same time, we saw Dinter get 2 very nice ganks up into the top lane and also denied Safety from picking up his own red buff. She saw Dinter and Morning able to take the one away from them.
Right, so it does look like both teams, they have very different strategies, as we do see now. Archie just brawling it out with QTBM, once again taking him down to such a low percentage of HP, and it's starting to look quite worrying for QTV at this point of time because he's sitting at a 30 CS deficit and having that 2 deaths as well, so sitting at a level disadvantage in this one. Now Winter will pick up that red buff for himself and continue on to have his aggressive gameplay here in this matchup.
See, top lane now, we saw the push coming out from Safety. Archie and Juni was able to take down that bot lane tower for the Saigon Jokers. Now they seem to be moving up towards this top lane. Safety is still near to the top lane, so they should be able to take down this tower with ease, but that does leave Dragon available to be contested by the Azubu Taipei Assassins with relative ease.
That's right, that's the primary concern when you go for this lane swap, especially for the blue team advantage. When you can, just group up as a 3-man or even a 4-man to take out the Dragon with ease. But I would say that this responsive play coming from Saigon Jokers might not be that detrimental on their end, because either way QTV is going to struggle. So why not, put him in a more passive lane? At least he can be able to pick up some farms for himself and, slowly claw himself back into this game for the very least of it. And so because of that, we do see Saigon Jokers give up 1 Dragon away to the Taipei Assassins at this point of time. So Taipei Assassins will now sit at a 2.4k gold advantage with 3 kills under their belt as well. And it does look like they are transiting this early 11 minutes in a very good fashion.
I like the Safety is coming down to try and help out QTB down this bottom lane. Unfortunately though, Silver, Karma and Olaf were able to pick that one up. Would have been interesting to see what they would do if it was just Sivir and Karma down in the bottom lane with QTB and Safety nearby, both very mobile, high damaging with the ultimate coming out from Safety, would be able to lock down those 2 champions, but Dinter playing it safe.
Oh, and there we go, we did see the explosive cast not landing on Optimus actually, and there was a small misplay coming in from Morning onto that one. And with all this focus onto the side lane, between both Optimus, there was that 1 kill that is separating both teams at this point of time. But Optimus has been keeping well. Actually, we do see the engage up in the top lane. Tibbers has to be popped, and Archie now disengaging because he has taken quite a fair bit of damage out of that one, and now BB will come to his rescue, and Tibbers will just drop in the meantime.
So BB was able to stop them from kind of pushing into the tower there. Juni and Archie really only have 1 creep wave to take down this top lane tower before Karma rejoins Sivir up in the top lane. Does look like Morning is trying to roam up to the top lane to help out as well, but the ward will spot him out. We see Jay being very aggressive up in this top lane, might be able to lock somebody down for Morning to come in, but the rest of Saigon Jokers are coming for a counter gang.
Right now, Jay has to escape out of that one, and now BB with the on the hunt as well. And the entire team of Taipei Assassins, they are around the area, so is Saigon Jokers. And just look like they are just, they know each other's position, and they will be contented with this exchange. And Saigon Jokers now with the 4-man up in the top lane, it does look like they will be able to take up this top lane turret in response to what Taipei Assassins have been doing.
So looking at the gold lead right now, Azubu Taipei Assassins are 2,000 gold ahead of the Saigon Jokers. They've been doing very well in this game so far, but Saigon Jokers have still been responding to the plays that Azubu TPA have been making. It's just that TPA have been slightly stronger in this early game, making really, really crucial decisions to get slightly ahead of the Saigon Jokers.
Right, so once it scales to the mid-game stage, I would say the concern will come in because Archie is sitting quite comfortably with that 1 kill. And there we go now with the command shot with now immediately blocked out with the Ragnarok, so he is not going to be locked down at this point of time. Morning now will disengage from the exchange as well. And now Archie left to fight alone with Archie as well. So it's gonna be the part of the Archies, man.
See, the rest of the Saigon Jokers are grouped up around mid lane. Explosive Cats will absolutely decimate the minions and throw QTV a little bit into the deep territory of Azubu Taipei Assassins. They were trying to siege up that mid lane tower after we saw Azubu Taipei Assassins were able to pick up Saigon Joker's mid lane tower. We see that the two-man push at top lane with VB and J was able to pick up the top lane tower. So 3 towers to 2 in favor of Azubu Taipei Assassins as well. They've really been controlling objectives and buffs very well this entire game.
Alright, kind of like taking a page out of the Sisters team playbook. Just control the objectives, make sure that recognize what is the best outcome that you can have, and then stop it there. You don't want to overextend your lead. And because of that, they have done it quite like a systematic way, and they have taken away 3 turrets away from Saigon Jokers, and just slowly maintaining and extending that goal lead as well. So it does look like Taipei Assassins, they are aware for a fact that their teamfight is not extremely proficient when you want to go up against Saigon Joker. So they decide to opt for this, looking for skirmishes and this playstyle where you don't really need to go for a 5v5.
What I think SAJ really needs to do now is try and force a fight. Force a fight before this gold lead becomes too unbearable to start forcing fights. And they need to use this superior team fight composition, in my opinion, the superior lockdown team composition, to try and force fights against TPA and secure objectives afterwards. So far, the Azubu Taipei Assassins have secured objectives entirely in the laning phase and not to do with a team fight just yet. And Saigon Jokers, on the other hand, have lost so many objectives just during the laning phase and have not started a 5-on-5 team fight yet, or even a small skirmish between multiple players. So I feel that if Saigon Jokers start to create team fights now and start to make these small skirmishes happen, they might be able to crawl back the gold lead slightly and pick up more objectives.
I completely agree with you onto this one, and now QTV might find himself in a bit of trouble as Dinter hits around the corner, and we might see Saigon Jokers now finding the picks for themselves as Junie is just camping right around the corner with safety heading up as well, but I think BB and J might have smelt something coming their way, so they will back off from that one. And yeah, that's going to be that vision ward to spot both Safety and Junie out as well. So, Taipei Assassins playing it smart here. They know that Saigon Jokers want to force and engage, and because of that, they will play it, rather safely. And it has worked out fine for them as well at this point of time.
So far, it's been a rather relaxed game between the two teams. As we said before, all the exciting plays have been happening in the laning phase, and no small skirmishes or large contested team fights so far. We haven't seen Safety have a huge impact on the game just yet. I thought that once he hit level 60, he would be able to do more as he gets caught up by Jay.
There we go now, Archie jumping into the fray, and he has to use that Cyclone Strike, and it does like he will go down to the combined efforts of 4 members of Taipei Assassins. And Morning will pick that kill up for himself, so furthering extending his kill count to 2-0, and at a very unfortunate timing as well, because Dragon just respawned, and without the smite for Saigon Jokers, I doubt they'll be able to contest that. And once again, giving away another objective, Taipei Assassin, so not really playing it smartly out in that one exchange.
Safety really got caught out of position there. Jay did a nice job of locking him down, getting the snare off before he could even go invisible, actually spotting him out once he started to go invisible, to allow the rest of his team to lock down that monkey. He did pop his ultimate to try and stop Azubu Taipei Assassins from advancing onto his poor positioning, but he was not able to get away. And as you said, very unfortunate that Dragon was respawning at that time as well. And once again, the Safety not doing so well this game. He is a level behind Dinter and quite a few minion score as well. So really not doing as well as Dinter has been. It hasn't put any pressure on the map at all, and
QTV wanted to use the Dragon's Descent to just push Archie right back into the turret range, but Archie kind of just saw that from a mile away, and he will be able to use the leap strike to counteract out for themselves. So both Dinter as well as Archie will be able to kind of disengage from that one, and in the meantime, Morning will take out Safety in the mid lane. So once again, Safety gets caught out in a very awkward position, and looking at his items as well, he has gone for that Spirit of Elder Lizard, so he doesn't have a lot of tanky items on his end, so he's pretty paper on his own item sets as well. And because of that, he will not be able to kind of sustain and fend off the aggression coming in from Morning, and that burst damage is just so potent up against him.
If you had asked me before the match started what lane I would like to look out for, as we see again, man, Shockwave missing their morning, able to bait that one out with the spell shield coming from BB and the body slam away from the Shockwave coming in from morning. But if you had asked me before the game which matchup I would specifically watch, it would be Archie against BB down the bot lane. But now it really looks like the game is being decided between Dinter and Safety. Safety is the complete opposite of Dinter right now. He is really not doing well in the jungle and has been counter-jungled by Dinter early on, which allowed him to not do well in the mid game, and now getting caught out this late into the game multiple times as well has given away far too many objectives. And that window whereby Saigon Jokers could have gone for a team fight and potentially won a team fight just because of their team composition is starting to close, just because the gold gap between the two teams is getting quite substantial. 7,000 gold ahead Azubu Taipei Assassins are.
I like the item choice for BB at this point of time. He has gone for the Spirit of the Elder Lizard. What do you make of this item on the choice of Marksman?
I mean, if it was anyone but BB, I would say I'm not sure why he's gone for the Spirit of the Elder Lizard if it's not Ezreal, but it's BB. He's the king of 80 carry picking up that Elder Lizard item. He's the one that coined the blue build Ezreal picking up the Spirit of the Elder Lizard early on, so he probably knows something that we don't.
So is it like the blue build Sivana, kind of reminiscence of the past, because he knew for that fact that, you know, blue build Ezreal is kind of phasing away, and so he wants to start a new trend at this point of time, so going for that Spirit of Elder Lizard on that Sivir.
It could be potentially that with the bouncing boomerang, it could hit multiple people with the true damage coming from the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, as Archie takes a little bit of a smack to the face coming from Safety. But if I'm not wrong, it does not apply on hit effects. So it just depends if Spirit of the Elder Lizard counts as an on-hit effect or not.
Oh, and there we go. Now, Dinter actually not getting the red buff in the process, so it does look like Safety will be able to get that for himself with the help of Smite there. But in the meantime, they will know for a fact Safety's Smite is not up. And, you know, kind of spot out the entire position for Saigon Jokers as well, should they want to go for any more skirmishes. And it does look like, you know, for Taipei Assassins, they still want to maintain this ground of not going for the team fights. And now Archie jumping onto QTV and putting a world of hurt onto him, just smacking him with the weapon of choice and bringing him down to about half health. And QTV once again has to back up from this turret, and you know, with the Trinity Force almost completed on Archie, I would say that's a very dangerous sign, because the best sound in the game is when Jax starts whacking on the turrets.
Azubu Taipei have Jax up in the top lane, split pushing that top lane tower, and as we saw just then, was able to shove QTV out of lane just with one trade alone, and was able to get this top tower down to incredibly low amounts of health. The Azubu Taipei Assassins have played this game out so well. They haven't forced anything from Saigon Jokers, but have just been slowly picking off champions and objectives here and there, and that's slowly increased their gold lead. And SAJ just really have not utilized their huge lockdown that their team composition provides, and have not gone for any skirmish at all. And it's quite disappointing as we see the first skirmish taking place.
Right, we might see Morning go down the process. The culling will actually, you know, put him low enough for Safety to pick that one up for himself. And now Dinter just chunking Junie down, and with the Ragnarok being popped as well, but Safety having that gap closer and the red buff to kind of lock him down to place. Archie will pick up the second kill onto Dinter over there. And it does look like it will be a 1-for-2 trade, so a little bit of saving grace for Saigon Jokers, but is it going to be enough? Because they are down by about 8,000 gold at this point in time, and having that 4-2 turret advantage, I would still say that they need a lot more to come back into this one.
They sure do. I really think that window of opportunity has closed for the Saigon Jokers. Now they really need to start picking off champions, just as they did there, but try not to lose one in return. Dinter was able to pick up Junie there in a good trade. We see SAJ QTV trying to battle out Archie, but he just really cannot fight Jax at this point. So we need, if Saigon Jokers want to stay in this game, they really need to start picking off champions, because Azubu Taipei Assassins have not been sticking together too well. We've seen Archie up in the top lane, consistently split pushing, while the rest of the members of Azubu Taipei Assassins roam around, and occasionally they're not even grouped up as 4 or 3 members, occasionally split up as 1 or 2 members around the map, and that's where SAJ really needs to group up as 5 and force fights with more Azubu Taipei Assassins.
it does look like Dinter is starting going on to Dragon once again. Should Taipei Assassins pick that one for themselves, that's going to be the third Dragon in the advantage, and easily down it goes with Dinter with the smart as well. So once again extending the goal lead, so it's a good solid 9,000 at this point of time. And you know, like you mentioned, Taipei Assassins playing out this so well with the split pushing coming in for themselves. And the thing that I want to kind of point out as well is that between the last matchup for Taipei Assassins and Saigon Jokers, it was the same strategy that Taipei Assassins deployed as well. They had that split pushing Vayne with the teleport, and then they had the Shyvana on their own side. And because of that, Saigon Jokers were unable to kind of deter away this split pushing strategy that Taipei Assassins were, you know, just deploying out onto them in the last matchup. And this time around, it's almost like the same story, but just on different champions. Because Archie now, having completed the Trinity Force as well as the Blade of Ruin King, I would say that it's rather impossible for anyone to out from 1v1 duel with him.
Sure, so far, Azubu Taipei have been doing the same thing constantly, split pushing and then grouping up, taking objective. Split push, group up, taking objective, and just avoid the 5 members of the Saigon Jokers. But now, they're trying to start Baron, and normally I would question a team's decision to start on Baron really early on, but SAJ really have no response to this, and they have no idea what is going on.
Right, actually, Saigon Jokers, they do know of this attempt, and there we go now with the Dragon's Descent, but it's gonna be Archie to pick it out for himself with the Jax pickup. And it does look like Saigon Jokers, they will have to pay for their actions here. The command shockwave just locks only BB down into place, and Morning, with coming into the batlines, he will be able to pick up and clean house over here. And BB now picking up the triple kill for himself. And I would say, you know, Taipei Assassins playing out that one beautifully. They should be able to somewhat close out the game, if not at least take out the mid lane inhibitor.
So, Azubu Taipei, their rotations were so good. This entire game, I feel like their rotations around the map were fantastic. Slowly pushing for objectives, not forcing anything against this hugely aggressive team composition that the Saigon Jokers have, and just slowly taking objectives one by one. Then they grouped out for that dragon fight there, and it was very unexpected. They had members all spread out around the map, and then just slowly close in on the Baron buff. Were able to pick it up with ease and win a team fight as well off it. And really, the Saigon Jokers have not been using their aggressive team comp at all.
Right, so it comes off as a surprise as well, because what Saigon Jokers really needed to do right at the early stages, like we have always talked about it, is to force a team fight. But at this point in time, the dive down into the Baron pit was kind of like a desperation move, and a very dubious one at that, because they knew for a fact that the entire team was not built up on their end, and they couldn't make full use of the team fight potential that they had, as we saw, you know, Optimus with the command shockwave only landing on one member, which was BB, and with Jay having the Crucible completed on him as well as the Talisman of Ascension, just able to make as well, as we do see
the screen comes back.
Screen coming back onto that one. Not too sure what happened in the meanwhile.
Archie's gonna get destroyed here though, my goodness.
Archie destroying Archie.
That was way too fast. That was way too fast to be true though, but that just shows how ahead Jax is right now. I was questioning the Jax pick coming here from Azubu Taipei Assassins, but really, SAJ did absolutely nothing to stop Jax from snowballing up in the top lane, and Dinter really helped Archie so much in the top lane to help him get ahead of QTV early on and snowball this huge Jax advantage. And a little bit of an interesting note about this blessing the Spirit Elder Lizard on BB is that, if I'm not wrong, Ricochet now, since Ricochet now hits every single target that it can, it will hit everyone at least once. It does proc the true damage that comes out from that item, if I'm not mistaken.
Get ready for blue build Sivir in solo queue, ladies and gentlemen, as BB once again revolutionizing that item to bring that out in a marksman. Meanwhile, coming back into this game, you know, Taipei Assassins having the Baron buff advantage, they will siege onto the top lane turret, and once again Archie down to the bottom lane, being that split pushing menace that Saigon Joker will not be able to deal with, and Junie now getting melted out immediately, just just having to pop that Tibbers, and that, didn't make too much of an impact as well. With the command shockwave now landing onto Jay here, will he go down in the process? does look like safety might go down first, and Archie jumping back into the fray of that one. And now QTV will go down to BB in the meantime, and Jay still surviving with all that shields and the speed ups coming in with his own buffs. And it does look like Taipei Assassins should be able to close out this game as they make work on the first Nexus turret and turning on to their attention onto the second one. And now Archie jumping into the fray, and look at how quickly Lucian just melted in the entire exchange. Now Julie coming back. I think he's just buying some time for himself, and that's the ace actually. And Taipei Assassins will pick up the first victory against Saigon Jokers here tonight in the best of 5 matchup.
So that's something we have seen before from Azubu Taipei Assassins. We have seen them use Jax that effective in a split push team composition. It really looked like before the Baron fight that Azubu Taipei Assassins did not even attempt to fight Saigon Jokers in a 5-on-5 or even a small skirmish situation. They just consistently the whole game rotated around the map very well, picked up objectives one by one and slowly, not trying to force anything against the Saigon Jokers. It just took the game very slowly and steadily, allowed Jax to snowball to the beast that he was, and snowball to the point where he could one-shot somebody as a Jax. Somebody who does sustained damage was able to burst down the AD carry of the Saigon Jokers and was able to split push uncontested. Saigon Jokers tried to last a few last-ditch team fights, but it was way too late for them to even try and be aggressive against the Azubu Taipei Assassins.
Right, not only that, I think, we have mentioned it time and time again, Saigon Jokers not finding the team fight that they really needed. Because for most of the time, they actually had a chance to come back to this one by forcing a fight. Because there was one point, I think around the 18-minute or 19-minute mark, where the item discrepancy between both teams were not too far apart, and they could easily turn it around with one good team fight. But they were just playing into Taipei Assassins' hands because they had to try to respond to that. But, when they want to go for something, try to defend for something, it was already too late for them because Taipei Assassin, with the mobility and the damage coming in on their end, they were able to take any objective out with ease. And not to mention that early 3 Dragon giveaways for Saigon Jokers to give away to Taipei Assassins, that was very unfortunate on their own end.